Turkey. A country known for being a mixed pot of cultures, which has brought the European as well as the Asian influences together into one amazing country. With the history of the Ottoman Empire, Turkey is a member of many important groups in the world, like the G20 and NATO. But in recent times Turkey has been a lot in the news, and that is because of their declining economy. Now, in order to understand the problem, we need to take a peek into time. So, since its foundation in 1923, Turkey has operated as a mixed economy, in which both state and private enterprises contribute to economic development. The economy has been transformed from predominantly agricultural, to one in which industry and services are the most productive and rapidly expanding sectors. In the post-war period, Turkey allied itself with the Western powers. Thus the foreign aid, which was mainly from the United States, arrived in large quantities. This aid was used in parts to finance agricultural expansion, to import agricultural and industrial machinery and transportation equipment. The growth accelerated with the private sector playing an increasing role. But it didn't last for a long period. By the late 1970s, Turkey's economy had perhaps reached its worst crisis since the fall of Ottoman Empire. Turkish authorities had failed to take sufficient measures and adjust to the effects of the sharply increasing oil prices, and had financed the resulting deficits with short-term loans from foreign lenders. By 1979, inflation reached triple-digit, unemployment had risen to about 15%, the industry was using only half its capacity, and the government was unable to pay even the interest on foreign loans. But eventually Turkey came out of this, and it was because the former Prime Minister's Özal strategy called for import substitution policies. Today a similar kind of economic crisis has occurred with some different reasons. Today the Turkish economy is facing a severe currency crisis. Last year in 2021, the Turkish currency lira lost 40% of its value against the dollar. While the lira was at 7.3 against the dollar in January 2021, it plunged as low as 16.69 at one point in December, losing over 40% of its value. The lira was the worst performer amongst emerging countries in the past year. This devaluation is threatening the progress made by the country in the last few decades. In addition to the currency crisis, Turkey's inflation rate has also surged, rising from 21% in November to over 36% in December. The cost of food has increased by over 43% annually, driven by a rise in the price of basic food items such as bread, flour, and milk. The middle-class families are struggling to run the house and bring food on the table. Now the question is, why is Turkey facing a severe economic crisis? Well, you see, Turkey is still an emerging economy, and as most of the emerging economies, Turkey's trade deficit is one of the highest in the world. Their growth still depends on a high amount of foreign investment. And in Turkey's case, majority of these investments from the 2000s have gone to the construction sector. For the short term it has created many jobs, and high growth numbers were seen, but in the long run these investments didn't generate any significant profits. Due to this, country's exports didn't rise to the level of its imports, and we see a rise in the trade deficit for a long time. This puts the lira in intense pressure in an international market. Plus, people in the country are desperately exchanging the lira to dollars and gold, which is accelerating the depreciation of the lira. Usually in this time period, the central banks use monetary power to control the inflation level and devaluation of the currency by increasing the interest rate. If you raise the interest rate, you make borrowing more expensive, which means consumers spend less money and reduce the cash flow in the market. And this results in a low inflation rate. Yet by raising the interest rate, you may be slowing down the economy, because investments in many businesses get more expensive. Still, by looking at the two major problems of the economy, raising the interest rate is the best thing to do. But the government is doing the exact opposite. The leaders of the nation strongly believe that lowering the interest rate will boost the export of manufactured goods and services, which will greatly grow the economy. Partly it's right, but you can't lower the interest rate all the time, especially in times like this, where imports of various products are getting costlier due to supply shortages. Another bothering thing is, the government has fired 5 top officials of central bank who raised questions on lowering the interest rate. This indicates that Turkey is not just going through an economic crisis, it is going through a political crisis as well. At the same time, Turkey's foreign relation with major power like the US are going down. Both countries are in disagreement with many topics, which have implications on lowering foreign investment in the country. Also, a few months back, Turkey was added to the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force. This gray listing could have harmful effects on a country's national economy. It reduces the status and reputation in the global environment, and harms international business relations. It also has a negative effect on the country's borrowing capacity from the IMF, from other global bodies, as well as with international funders, banks, and financial institutions. So it becomes more complicated to generate enough investment for much needed economic growth. So, in order to come out of this crisis, Turkey needs to take major steps, starting from raising the interest rate. Many experts believe that, if the government fails to take some action, then Turkey's economy could see a major downfall, and citizens of the country will pay the price. Well, we hope that doesn't happen. Now we would like to know your opinions on this. Please write in the comments below. And if you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you.